Okay, we're ready.
Okay.
Oh,
It is 2:24 at 5 o'clock for regular council meeting. Stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I get a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
Patrice,
Yes.
do I get a second?
I'll second.
Terry, second. All in favor? Jason?
I hope
Terry?
I'm not muted.
Aye.
Wayne?
Aye.
Patrice?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the February 10th council meeting?
So moved.
Wayne, do I get a second?
I second.
Patrice seconds. All in favor? Jason?
I
Terry?
Aye.
Wayne?
Aye.
Patrice?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the February 16th TIF meeting?
So moved.
Terry has made the motion.
Second.
Patrice seconded. All in favor? Jason?
I
Terry?
Aye.
Wayne?
Aye.
Patrice?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Old business, Richard. I can't hear you, you're muted.
I don't have anything specific other than we can maybe talk a little bit about when Kenny Ryan's project comes up and everything in the senior living, but other than that, I don't have anything specific. We do have a couple more lots, so there seems to be more interest in these lots, so I would expect according to the realtor, we're gonna have some more action on those pretty soon again too, don't you think, Carrie?
Yeah, I do.
Which lots are those?
Well, go ahead, Carrie, you can explain.
Well, we're gonna close on one on 3rd and 11th and Third Avenue, another one up the street a ways from there. And then another one next to the corner lot. So it'd be 3 of them in that area. And then there's some look at the townhome lots too, so.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yep, so hopefully we can get a few more before the next council meeting.
Have you moved forward, Dick, on establishing the townhome lots?
I haven't done anything. We haven't, currently there's no, the plat has not even been recorded yet. There's no restrictions on them yet, so they lay as they lay at this time. And we're gonna have to make a decision sooner or later, how and any restrictions we're gonna have on those things. I think we talked about that in another meeting. We're gonna kind of wait to see how things pan out. I don't know that the one person that was going to build a townhome, according to my information, was Terry, that they would just build it. It's going to be on there. It was, but there were some other, maybe some other people that wanted to have them, maybe have to make some changes on that plat about right-of-ways, and not right-of-ways, but setbacks. Isn't that correct, Carrie? So again, until we got a deal, I think I'd like to have as much flexibility there as possible. I'm still leaning towards my personal thought, that we should consider putting the ones on the west, consider those, making those regular lots, but we'll see what happens. We did also have somebody that inquired, according to the realtor, that wanted to buy 2 lots Is that right, Carrie?
Yep.
They wanted to buy 2 lots, not in the townhome lots, Terry, but they wanted to buy 2 lots and put a house on 2 lots. Now, we don't have a decision to make on that yet because there's nothing. They
We
just
turned
just
We
talk.
turned it down the last time,
Yeah.
because it's not gonna work right of doing it that way, so. So we'll just have to play it by ear and when we turn around and see how much more interest we have in it, so.
Well, I just don't want to kind of put the cart before the horse and kind of scramble in the end and try to change whatever is
Well,
kind of trying to be established.
sure. No, I agree. That's nothing has been, I mean, the lots are laid out for twin homes. But they're not, there's no covenants or restrictions that say they must be twin homes. Okay? So my thought, let's just, if somebody, we don't have anybody that's wanted to buy, what's your saying there, Carrie? You're shaking your head.
We gotta give it a chance. You ain't even waiting 6 months and you wanna convert them.
No, I don't
we're
want to
gonna-
do anything, Carrie.
We're
What I
gonna
wanna do-
leave them as twin lots for a while.
Well, here's what I'm saying, that once you put twin lots on there, you're done.
Yeah,
All right. And once you do that, you have no flexibility. My thought, we want to maintain as much flexibility as possible. Because let's keep in mind, when we did the other twin homes down there, they were never required to be twin homes. They never were. They just ended up that way, so to speak.
well, they must have been because we built them with the sewer and water that way.
No, they aren't.
Yeah,
No.
they are. You look, they're all different water and sewers.
Carrie, I'm going to tell you you're wrong on that. On the first, I'm just going to tell you, when they laid out those lots, Carrie, they were laid out as single family lots. Then what we had to do, because the restrictions at that time said single family homes anyway. Well, then we started getting some people that wanted to put twin homes on. So what we did, we went and split those lots in half. We split them in half and made, so that way we got around the restriction of being twin homes. So that way there was a twin home on one side, so there were single unit lots on each half of the lot. So, and I don't have the water and sewer plans. Steve, maybe you can comment on that, but originally they were set out to be the first phase anyway, single family homes. I'm sure of that, but I don't want to correct the mayor.
Yes, you do.
Well, and I guess my fear is just for the city that once we get
Yeah.
locked into twin homes, that's what we got to have.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
but we got enough lots up there right now for the single family houses that are selling. We built this for twin homes, so we gotta give it a chance.
well, that's fine, but once I want the council to understand, once you put twin homes restriction on there, you can't change it. It's no different if you have the rest of the lots up there are single family homes. You can't put a twin home on there. Once you put these on there as twin homes, we're done.
Yeah,
And you're locked into that. So then what happens is, Carrie, let's say theoretically we have one twin home on there and we sit for 6 months and some developer says, okay, I'll come and buy your lot, but and he said, I'll put a twin home on there, but I'll offer you $30,000. Well, I don't know what the price of them even are. I don't even remember what they even are. So that's my only thought. The council makes a decision, but I just want to I think we want to maintain flexibility rather than just say twin homes and we're stuck with them. That's because remember, we had a lot of people that said, I want a lot. I put my name down on a list. I'm going to buy one of those lots. And none of them came to fruition yet. Now that was before the price of lumber went high, but we had people that said they were going to buy lots. Did we not? I think we did. And then none of them stepped forward. But that was before the price of lumber jumped so much too, So anyway.
I guess at this point, I think there seems to be a lot of discussion, and I think probably people have some thoughts on this. So I just really think we need to keep an open mind and just really keep discussing it and see where this takes us.
Well, whatever the council want, whatever the council does is great. But I guess I just don't want to get locked into something that we end up regretting later on down the line.
Correct.
So if we put a single family home on, can we still put a twin home on or
Well,
in that
the
area
way,
and on that section?
the way they were right now, the way that they were engineered was for twin homes. So I think what the idea was, we were going to require them to be twin homes, not for it to be optional twin homes. Is that everybody's understanding?
Yep.
Could we, to begin with, just sell twin home lots on the one side and then not do the other yet, or not offer the other yet? Would
Well,
that be
I
a
think
thought?
that's probably the person who wants to build the one now, correct, I think wants to be on the east side. Isn't that right, Carrie?
Yep.
That,
And the only,
maybe you want to do that. Say the east side is twin home and leave the other side open. If you got somebody comes on the other side, maybe you make that twin homes too, you know, I don't know.
see, the only problem on this is that he wants to buy it, but he wants us to give him an easement because he wants to put 3-car garages on them. And that's gonna be so tight, you're gonna have 8 feet between the buildings, if that. That's where this is coming from. And I said, I don't think the council would go for it, but I said, we'll bring it up to the council and he goes and find out. But I really don't believe we should be allowing 3-car garages with twin homes. Because it's, unless they put them out in front of the twin homes, then you're gonna hide the twin homes all the way.
Carrie, can maybe, I mean, maybe Reese needs to explain how they were designed in the first place, so that the council understands this isn't just you and me making decisions or suggestions. It's a design thing that affects us. Right, Carrie?
Yep.
And so from an engineering perspective, the way we laid those out was you basically build it up so that it can be a slab on grade lot, is typically how these twin homes are built. So with that, we made the lots a little bit skinnier than what you would typically see on a single family lot. So in this instance, they are 50 feet wide as opposed to the normal 85 feet wide for a single family lot. So with that, you end up having that shared wall along the lot line, typically for these twin home units. And they each have their own sanitary and water service stubbed to the property line, so that both unit can have separate water and sanitary meter going, so that they're both paying for those separately. So the thing I would say is, on the east side, we do have a little bit more flexibility with property lines, because we are not constrained by a storm sewer that goes into the pond on the west side. So on the west side, we put the storm sewer on a property line, just because then you're not impacting homes quite as much. So on the west side, you have much less flexibility. You're either going to end up with a couple of very large single family lots, or you're going to have to reroute a storm sewer. And that's a large storm sewer, so that cost goes up quite substantially if that does need to get relocated. So from an engineering perspective, I would say you have more flexibility on the east side as opposed to the west side, should you desire to alter any of those units.
Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Carrie, you had said that somebody wanted to buy 2 lots. And what is the reason that you would discourage that, maybe?
Well, number one, if you buy 2 lots and put one big home in it and on the 2 lots, you're gonna throw the design and the looks of that whole addition off. So
Okay,
you're gonna have this castle with the regular houses, you know.
Yeah,
That's the reason
okay.
why.
Okay, I see.
You know, plus we're looking at a tax base for a house with a house on it for each lot to pay this money back.
Yeah,
So that's another reason. There's different ones, but that's the two main ones.
mhm.
Anybody else got anything they want to add on to this, or? We'll move on to George. Welcome.
There. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I've got an item on your agenda relating to the potential refunding bonds. We had talked at a previous meeting about the potential of refunding several of your bonds together. This was the 2010 bonds, 2014A, 2017A, and 2020A. So 4 different bonds. And just as a real quick recap, 2020A was the water tower and street projects. 2014 was a street project and the pool. 2017 Swanson Heights 2, and 2020A was the twin homes. So the resolution on your agenda tonight, we're not issuing bonds this evening. The resolution is just what's called a parameters resolution. It gives the city a little bit more flexibility in terms of when you price the bonds. What it does is it allows the mayor and the clerk to lock in interest rates on the bonds on any date and not just on a city council meeting date. We've actually got a scenario where there's a little bit of not flexibility, a little bit of movement rather in the tax exempt bond market right now. Interest rates are moving around, and so certainly there's having this flexibility may benefit the city because you could potentially again lock in interest rates on a day when it's to your benefit. So the resolution, it again, for all intents and purposes, council, it allows the mayor and the clerk to lock in interest rates when all the bond paperwork is ready, meaning that the bond official statement is done, the bond rating is in place, and the market is such that you meet your parameter. I will note that, and Lori likes this, that she did the heavy lifting recently on the bond rating, not associated with the issuance of a new bond, but rather what's called a surveillance review by Standard & Poor's. They periodically do a review of a city when there's been a period of time since you last had your rating assigned. Usually it's 18 months or 2 years when there's that much in between bond issues. And so what they indicated, we went out, this bond is large enough and long enough in length that getting your rating assigned makes sense. We won't need to go through a new bond rating call because Lori just went through a surveillance review. So that in itself, we had the timing built into the estimated calendar for when these bonds could be issued. We had a rating call factored in that extends the timeline a little bit. So now that is going to be streamlined a little bit more, we might be able to get your bonds issued sooner than originally thought. So we originally thought March 24th. Again, that timeline could move up a little bit now. So again, council, this is just a resolution giving you flexibility in when you can issue the debt. And really, council, it's really that. And so you still have to come back to a subsequent city council meeting to have a resolution approved that ratifies the action of the mayor and clerk to formally approve the sale. So again, real purposes of this again is just to give you broaden kind of the window of when you can issue the debt. Typically we issue bonds on city council meeting dates, but this just again broadens that timeline when you can. I can address any questions, Mayor, you or the council may have.
Anybody got any questions on this?
Gary,
Yep.
because we got some new members, I'd kind of like to take them through what this is all about, just so they understand. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. So I went over these numbers kind of with Lori before we did this. So, you know, it looks like we do have a lot of debt, and we do. You know, this total city debt that we're gonna have when this is all said and done is about $3.1 million, which is a lot of money, okay? So when some of it is more concerning than others. The reason I say that, we have different places we pay back the debt. For example, if you turn to page 7 of the documents, I don't know if anybody has the documents or not, but that's just the water tower portion of the debt, which is in total principal about $845,000. So that debt gets paid back gets paid back by the water and sewer fund. So, and typically, so we don't use general tax money to pay that back. So in theory, we bill a citizen for their water, we make a little money out of it, and then the money we make out of it, we use that to pay the debt back on the tower, on the water tower. Okay? So that's 45. Now, the reason I'm got concerned is that you see, we have to come up with until at least 2028. This will be on page 6. Our debt service payments are, they start out about 350,000, then they go down in 2028. I guess 2028 to about 200,000. So it's going to be a little bit tight in the next. Yeah, thank you, Lori. That's great. So we'd be on page 6 if we could. Not page 6. I got a different page 6 than you got.
Do I have the right thing?
Keep going down. If you could peep down a little bit. Keep going, please. Keep going. Okay, so that's the total number. So if you look on this says starts out at 346, then goes down to 355, and in 2028, it goes down to a bearable number at 199. Okay, but that's in total. So out of that, so initially out of that 356, if you look at the next page, the water tower attachment, we have that 45,000 that comes out of the water and sewer fund. Okay. On the street, the next page, that's that number. We just have, there's 2 sources of repayment we have for that number. Number one is city tax dollars. And then the other one is we have some assessments that people pay. Okay. So we have a line item budget every year that talks about about debt service. So that's where that comes from. Okay. On the next page, that was, and why there's 2 different deals. We use a little bit of a technique in order to get some money to pay for the rest of the pool. So again, those debt services, those monies, those payments are about $50,000 a year. They got to come from our general tax dollars and some assessments. Okay. And the abatement portion, that was for the pool. The next one on the 217, that's where I have some concerns, because not concerns, we got to pay it back, but I want everybody to understand. We still owe about $690,000 for the Swanson Heights addition. And so in theory, what we were doing is we were going to pay that back out of lot sales. Well, we haven't really, every time we sold a lot, we didn't segregate out those monies and pay off the bond. What we did, we just put it in the checkbook, and when it's come the time to pay off, we made the payments. So we were kind of banked. So we have 12 lots left, I think, of about $40,000. So we're going to be short, basically. So not all lot sales that we have left are going to cover the debt. Does everybody get that? Understand that? Because that's just the way it worked out.
But explain that, because then it increases the tax.
Yeah,
Right,
but we also have more tax money coming in. We have to, we haven't done a dollar for dollar payback on when we sold a lot. Not every penny went to pay back debt. We pay it, we pay the debt as we come back due. But again, in order to pay this money back, we got lot sales, we got tax and taxes. But that there's a shortfall there that, I mean, on paper, okay?
But Dick,
Yes.
the money does go into the account that we don't spend the money on other things. It sits in the account that's for that bond.
Well, it sits there, but it's still,
Yeah,
it sits
right.
there, but it's still not paid off. We still owe 700 or about
Right.
700. We only have 480 left to sell. Okay. Same theory with the next one, the final one, that's on the twin homes. You know, hopefully if we sell some of those, we can segregate that money and use it to pay back the lots. Now, when you looked at George's summary, he did put in there sources of repayment being the the proceeds from the water tower fund, taxes, and those things. He didn't put anything in there about lot sales, right, George?
That should be in there, yes.
Yeah, but it's not in there anyplace, but that's fine. So
Yeah, and typically in the, well, in the legal document, when you issued the original bonds or with these bonds, lot sale revenue is kind of considered other revenue that the city can lower or reduce. For example, on those bonds, it might say that the general taxes would pay debt service, but you can reduce or cancel that levy with other revenues such as lot sales.
right. So my only point is that for the next 8 years, we got to come up with 300, 350, or not 7 years. Our debt service is going to be started out at 350,000 and it's going to go down to 296. So the next 8 years, we have a lot of stuff we're just going to have to pay. Okay. And again, we have lot sales and we have some dedicated budget funds to do this, but that's just, it's a pretty big nut to crack
And Dick, to kind of answer a question that maybe somebody might thinking about is, when we put this together, we didn't do any restructuring of your debt.
right.
So it's not like by doing this refund, you've got these new large debt service payments. No, that's not it. You've had those payments. Those payments are coming up whether we do this refinancing with you or not.
Well, yeah, I know that they know it, but I don't, most of the council members, including me, haven't really been on top of it. I'm not a member, but have really, that this is what we got to pay back. I mean, this is a pretty big number that we got to pay back. Yeah, we didn't, isn't like a homeowner who goes and refinances and extends out their loan. You're not doing that, right?
Dick, I don't think I'm just doing a quick ad. I don't think it's much higher that we have to pay per year.
But it's still, it's $300,000.
It already is 300,000.
Yeah, it's 300,000.
No.
Now, what's 346 next year? That's a lot of money to pay back every year. Just is. So anyway, we just have to be kind of careful. We have one other thing that we are trying, Carrie and are trying to do our best to get that senior living housing, that money out of that too. But we're just a little bit. I mean, now, George, you probably don't think so, but I get a little nervous. We don't have as much money in the checkbook as we used to have. So.
No, understood. Certainly and council. So certainly the putting all these bonds together for Lori's purposes and for your purposes, you'll still be able to track these separately, track them like they were the original bonds. We're just, the goal here is just to reduce your interest cost. Some of the bonds, have for example, the 2014 bonds have a 3.1% interest rate on them. And we're looking to drop that well under 1%. So that's kind of the goal here is to generate in excess of $300,000 of overall savings by reducing that interest cost or lowering that interest rate. So, but yes, well stated that the city has, debt on the books for the various projects that we mentioned. And so this is just kind of a financial management, what you're doing. You're managing your debt. The bond rating agencies like when you do this, that you're not just issuing debt and not watching it, but rather when there's opportunities like this where markets allow and interest rates are low, that you can try to reduce your interest costs. So that's the goal here. And
What
so
is
again,
a
like,
reasonable- what is a reasonable amount of debt for a city like Goodhue to have?
that's a good question to pose, and certainly the answer to that question may be, each city might have a different answer. But I mean I'm sorry if I'm kind of trying to fumble for an answer here, but I don't know that you have an unreasonable amount of debt. I think that you're maintaining a bond rating that's in the AA category. You may show on the books or with the bond rating agency that you have a little elevated debt, but you're offsetting that with other things. You've got good cash, good management practices, et cetera. But that's some. And I apologize if I didn't give you a direct,
No, but I'm gonna ask you a question, George. Could you explain to the new council members what the AA bond rating is and how that actually goes?
Okay, sure. Yeah, thank you for the questions. And absolutely, some of these things that when you are new to or relatively new to the city council, some of the terminology that we're mentioning may not be something you've heard about too often. One of them is the term general obligation. And typically when a municipality is issuing debt, whether that be the city or the county, they're issuing general obligation bonds. And what that means is general obligation is backed by the full faith and credit of the city. So it might be for example, Dick referenced the 2010 bonds as being for the water tower and streets. So a water tower project, you're going to pay for typically with revenues of the water utility, but it's backed by a general obligation pledge, which if you have a shortfall of revenue, the city is obligated to levy taxes to make up that shortfall in order to pay your debt. So that's what general obligation means. You can't just walk away from it. Your full tax base is standing behind that debt. So that's what general obligation is. The credit rating, think of that like your personal credit score. A bond rating is like the city's credit score, if you will. There's two firms that typically are rating debt in Minnesota. One is Moody's Investor Service. The other is Standard & Poor's. Standard & Poor's is the one that has rated the city of Goodhue. Bond ratings go from non-rated. Many municipalities don't have a bond rating, but they go from non-rated up to single A, double A, and then triple A. Triple A is the highest rating you can get on a bond. And the state of Minnesota off and on has been at the AAA level. I think it's actually one notch off of AAA right now. But the city of Goodhue, to its credit, is in the AA category. That's where a majority of Minnesota municipalities fall within the AA category and some within that A category. When you're in that AA category, they define that as very strong. So you're considered a very strong credit on paper. They look at a variety of things. They look at the city's demographics, where are you located, your median household incomes, the economy in your area. They look at your debt profile, how much debt do you have outstanding, and they also look at your cash and what do you have for reserves. And that's what was one of the very strong factors for Goodhue when you got assigned originally that AA minus credit rating. So the importance of a credit rating is, and you have to pay for this certainly, for this bond issue, I want to say it's about $12,000 to $13,000 to pay to get that credit rating. any of the costs that we have associated with issuing these bonds are factored in. It's not out of pocket for the city. That credit rating, the important part is it drives down the interest rates, because now you're a stronger credit, and investors will look at that and they're willing to accept a lower interest rate for you getting your AA- rating assigned. For example, many community banks have on their rules, if you will, that they only can buy certain municipalities. They can only buy certain bonds of municipalities. You have to have a minimum AA category rating in order for them to be able to buy your debt. So that's part of why this is important, is you get that credit rating assigned, it helps you to borrow money at lower interest rates. I know that's kind of a quick overview, Council. There's certainly other things that, my firm, Northland Securities, is helping the city in another regard. When you talk about tax abatement or tax increment financing, those are economic development tools. And Donna perhaps has helped to review those with you in the past. But my colleague Tammy Umdahl is working with the city on tax abatement projects and tax increment as well. So that's a whole nother element that you may be getting exposed to, is the types of incentives that it takes for a project to get off the ground. Sometimes it's you provide tax abatement, helps a developer kind of fill a financing gap, and it allows them to move their project forward. So Mayor, I maybe went a little bit more than you were looking for there, but again, that's just kind of a brief overview of general obligation, the type of debt that you have here, and bond ratings.
So is there any questions on that at all? The AA- is one step off the AAA.
It's in the AA category. There's AA-, AA, and then AA+. So there's 3 steps, if you will, within the AA category. And I tell you what, for a city the size of Goodhue to be in the AA category, kudos to you guys, because that's a very good place to be.
Thank you. So we want to go to a resolution. Do everybody see their package with a resolution in it?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's one resolution, right, George?
That is correct. And again, just to recap that resolution, you're not issuing debt tonight. You've already, Council, given kind of the green light to move ahead on the refunding. This is just really giving you a broader timeline to issue the debt. Sometimes, and the reason why I say there are good days, there are bad days in the market to bring a bond issue is sometimes we see very heavy days, a lot of supply coming to the market. Maybe there's 5, 6 school districts in Minnesota bringing a bond, or a county or two. And it's better to issue a bond or bring a bond to market when you're one of the few, instead of just one of the, maybe there's 10 issues that coming that particular day. But even beyond that, it's to come to the market when the market is good for you. And so this doesn't guarantee that you'll hit certain savings targets, but it just gives you a broader flexibility on when you can issue the debt.
So what I'm looking for is a motion to approve the resolution. That'll let Lori and I work with it to find out, to get the best interest rates we can.
Yes.
So can I get a motion, or?
I'll move.
Patrice has made the motion. How about a second?
A second.
Wayne seconded. All in favor, Jason?
Aye.
Terry? You're muted.
Aye.
Wayne?
Aye.
Patrice?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. Fab Tech plan. Dick, you're muted.
Kenny's here. And then Lori, could you maybe put that plan that you had up earlier, or somebody had it up earlier? I don't know who was that.
Kenny, did you have an updated one or is that one?
This is what I have. I talked with Steve with Johnson and Schofield, and he is saying it's going to be Friday or Monday for any more updates.
Am I on the right page, Kenny?
Yep, this is right.
If I can say it, Kenny had a concern about, could you move it down a little bit there? Yeah, I guess that's right. Kenny had a concern about, there's 2 pages to this. The first one shows, I think that the violation, I don't know what we're gonna do about that extension, how far we're gonna go, but one of the concerns that Kenny had was putting that, right now that they have 3 fire hydrants, I think, on there. He didn't think that was necessary, and I don't know, apparently there's a restriction or something that you're supposed to get within 250 feet of a fire hydrant for fire protection. And Kenny, maybe you can explain your concern and what you've discovered or not discovered on that, and how we can resolve that.
Well, my question was, they have a proposed relocated fire hydrant, which I assume is the one by Ag Partners, the maintenance shop. I don't know what they have, but they've got to be further back. I mean, do they have another hydrant on the back side?
Yes, they do. When we did the 3rd Street Viola Lane loop, there's a water line that runs along the east side of their property, and there are a couple fire hydrants along that edge.
Okay, so I guess what I was wondering, what do they need covered? I mean, that one getting relocated covers ground that I don't know if that needs coverage. I don't know the rules, but it seems like a parking lot and a berm don't really need fire protection. And then if we had the proposed hydrant further down, and if we moved it, you know, if they want one to the north side property, it seems like I could just move the southwest one closer and get that radius to cover the building. I mean, we do have I believe it's a 6-inch line going into the building. We've got the plans for the fire suppression system. So obviously I'm trying to do what I can not to incur extra costs for the hydrant on the north side.
The one idea I had was to move that proposed fire hydrant closer to the building, so it'd cover that radius that we need. Is that possible, Reese, or not?
Yes, so essentially what you could do is, if you extended that hydrant further to the west, and I guess to kind of take a step back, that hydrant that's at the end of the current Viola Lane extension, that is proposed to be relocated regardless. Right now, what we do with the water main is we put a hydrant on the end of it so that you can blow off the water main should you need to, in order to keep, flushing or whatever else would be needed. So that hydrant could get relocated further to the west and shifted to the north. Now, one thing we may want to investigate is, if that's going to be a shared hydrant for the south side, there may want to be, a 10-foot easement for that water line. But yes, you could move that hydrant closer to the building in order to meet that 250-foot radius.
So my concern was that when we submit these plans to the county, is that going to be code compliant then, if we did it that way?
So if you can get the corners of the building covered within the 250-foot radius, you will be absolutely fine. And that goes back to more of a fire code, building code type requirement. Typically on a street system, you're putting hydrants every 350 to 500 feet in order to make that coverage work. So long story short, yes, if you've slid it further to the west and slid it north, I believe you could get very close to covering.
Then that would then eliminate that water line, that north, south and east, west water line and a proposed hydrant on the back, correct?
Correct. Then you would not need the water line to the north.
So I have a question on that. If we move that hydrant, that southwest hydrant north to the next by the building, what does that do for, say, we sell the lot to the south?
That would then, I mean, it really depends on where they position the building on the south side. You may need to extend another line to the south, and you may need to connect to the main line, and yeah, it ultimately depends on what goes there, but you would be getting less coverage on the south side as opposed to the north.
So no matter which way we look at it, we'd have to add another hydrant to the south anyway.
More than likely.
What, how does everybody feel about it? I don't really have an issue with it, but
So would this eliminate one hydrant?
it would eliminate everything on the east side of that building going north, and then the water line going west at the north end of that building. It would save them a lot of money.
Well,
Wayne?
well, I guess I was gonna say if we're within code and if Kenny's good with it, I don't see any reason not to go with it.
Yeah.
Well, this is a consensus. Jason, how do you feel about it?
Well, it makes sense to me because either way, if we have to put one to the south eventually for another business, it'll just have to be tapped in, right?
Yeah.
It sure will save a bunch of money now.
Well, to get this project going, I think we should allow it. I'm really.
Yeah, right.
Well, I guess the way I look at it is the water line doesn't move. So if you want another hydrant to the south, it's not like I'm moving the water line into the property and the south side, it doesn't have any access.
No, we aren't even thinking like that, Kenny. Don't think that.
No, I'm just saying it, it really doesn't change the water line. It just moves the
Yeah,
hydrant.
Closer to the building, yeah.
Yeah, no, and I don't have, like I say, I don't have an issue with that because I can see your point there. So the water line is still gonna be where it is. It's just that we'd have to add our hydrant to the south someday, which isn't a real big thing either, so.
Right.
Does anybody else have any issues with the proposed layout as we see it right now? Because I guess Kenny would kind of like to have a consensus that we're okay with the way it's laid out. We still don't know how far we're gonna extend Viola Lane, but does anybody else, is there any other concerns anybody has?
I looked at it plenty of times, so I don't have any, so.
And Kenny, I guess one question I had was the sanitary sewer that would be right next to the water main. With the sanitary being so much deeper, you may, if that sanitary sewer needs to get extended in the future, you may undermine that water main. Because if the sanitary line, I would just make that note of, but maybe thinking about extending that or rerouting the water line to be maybe on the more towards the back of curb, if you're not going to extend that sanitary line all the way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I guess I didn't even notice that until you said that. I certainly wasn't, it wasn't under my direction. So if something makes more sense, I'm all for it.
So maybe we could get kind of a consensus of the council that we're okay with this layout. And then the next, subject to our engineer's approval, so he doesn't have to come back here again to get a design, at least a layout approval. If everybody's okay with it, maybe we can just say it's okay, as long as Reese is okay with it. And then the next step, I guess, the next thing we'd have to approve then is the actual building plans whenever they're gonna be here. Right?
So the building plans I have, I could pull them up quick if you'd like.
Yeah, if you would.
Well, maybe we could do that we can say we approve them, but it all gets sent to the county anyway for their approval. So I think normally we just kind of take a look at it and say, we don't have a problem, but that doesn't mean that the county won't, because they actually look at them and do the stuff that we're not technically able to do.
Yeah,
No,
we hired an architect to go through it. So I don't think the county is going to have any issues. I know probably I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but the pollution control or the water retention is the next thing I need to get done. And then I think I can start moving forward here. So.
Well, can you pull up those plans, and then maybe we could even, I don't know if the council is comfortable looking at them and saying they're okay per county approval or the engineer's approval, or how would you guys, what does everybody think?
Well, we still as a council approve that we're sending them to the county.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see them if we can, yeah.
All right, so the site location isn't exactly right, but oh, hang on. All right, I don't know if everyone can see what's going on here, but there'll be more detail as we go. This area down here is the offices, break room, restrooms. More restrooms in this area. This is just the overview. This is the actual office break room. If anyone has any questions, just stop me. So this will be the different views. I believe the top view would be the north. This view here would be the south. The view with the multiple garage doors is the east. And there's actually going to be one garage door on the back to the west side. That technically it would be the north side. Let's see. And here's just more of the detail with the doors, the structure of the building. So everything's engineered. It's got the engineering stamped prints. We have the architect that goes through it. Then obviously it'll go to the county and to the state for anything I need there. Does anyone want to see a page again that I kind of went through it quick?
I thought it looked good. So what I'd like to see done is, there's somebody from the council wants to give a motion to approve these.
Yeah, I can give a motion to approve them.
Jason made a motion. I got a second.
I'll
I'll
second
sec-
it.
Good.
Terry seconded. All in favor? Jason,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Wayne,
Aye.
Patrice?
Aye.
Motion's carried. It can go to the county now because we approved it, so. Lori, do you need this or not?
Oh.
I can't hear you.
I'll need the building permit application and then 2 sets of prints and
You hear that, Kenny?
Yeah, and so if I understand this correctly, it sounds like I can get a site permit first. So I could start doing some dirt work. So that would be done right away. And then the building permit would be on its heels.
You could get the building permit in there also and have it in hand, so as soon as they get your dirt work done, you can start.
Sure.
We do want to coordinate though something with that road too, though. That don't have to be decided right now, but I guess that's coming up later on, but we want to coordinate to make sure we get the best possible deal on the extension of the road and the utilities too.
Yep.
Lori, you said you need a building permit and what else?
well, eventually you'll need 2 prints. The county will want 2 prints, but I can email you the building permit application.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Kenny.
Thank you all.
And we're
Well,
gonna
I'm
keep,
real excited about this. It's gonna be fun to see this done because we've never had anybody come and bring 50 jobs to Goodhue. In my lifetime, I didn't think it ever happened, but it's here, so that's really nice.
yeah,
Do we
thank you
have-
much.
Do we have to do anything with that first one we were talking about, the water lines and that kind of thing?
That's coming up here a
The
little
fire?
bit.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine. Because we got that one going, so we'll go into the wastewater district. Steve?
Yeah, so we had that wastewater district meeting there February 3rd. And since then, I did receive a phone call from the MPCA last Tuesday informing me that they are reviewing our permit and informing that we will be receiving a chloride limit, which is basically it's from water softeners is what they've determined is where this is coming from. Their recommendation from MPCA's, they're recommending we would build a lime softening treatment plant and soften our drinking water before distributing it to the city, and then in turn have everybody remove their water softeners, which to them I think is the cheaper option, but it is not a cheap option. I mean, Pipestone just did one, and that was I think a 4 or 5 year project, and that cost about $15 to $18 million. Where I talked with Reese today too, and I've talked with Doug Alms, and where yes, it's still I mean, the MPCA is well aware that we are talking about the sanitary district, where we waited 4 years for this answer, and they gave us 30 days to tell them what our plan is. If we want to move forward and start doing feasibility studies, see what we can afford, what we cannot afford. We do have an option to file for a variance, which can be up to a total of 15 years to basically find the money to do what they're recommending, or for us to build a new facility or pump to, join the sanitary district, which would give us time, but they need an answer soon. And then also, working with Reese here too, with the sanitary district, that group also would like kind of an answer if we still want to keep pursuing with them, exploring that as an option or not. And if the MPCA doesn't, I don't think they'll guarantee we get a 15-year variance, where they could just give us 2 years and say, figure it out, where I think we're looking at maybe pumping to Zumbrota and hooking up to their system sooner rather than later, before the sanitary district comes to life. I don't know. And that's kind of where we need guidance from you guys, or we look at just, move forward and build our own plant, where talking with Reese, we didn't factor in that chloride limit. That one, we didn't really know that one was coming. We were leaning towards phosphorus. That's been the MPC's big thing, but so they kind of threw this one at us instead of what we were thinking it was going to be, where phosphorus is a little bit different to deal with. And I think it's actually easier to deal with versus the chloride.
Right. Oh, man.
So yeah, I just kind of wanted to give you guys that information. And I'm sure Reese will have more to say too about it, but we're going to need to make a decision sooner rather than later of what route we want to go with.
Ain't one thing, it's another, ain't it?
Yep. And the tough part is no matter what option we do, it's a process. I mean, even no matter what, I bet there's a good chance it'd be 1.5 years or 2 years of planning, designing, permitting, and everything before you can even think of putting a piece of pipe in the ground. No matter which route we go, whether it's building our own or going to Zumbrota, unfortunately, we throwing this on you guys with our help to try to figure out what the best option is. And I guess my recommendation, I just long-term I think the best bet for the city of Goodhue would be to the sanitary district or just straight pumping to Zumbrota.
Well, either way, we're going to Zumbrota with it. Right?
Unless we would build our own treatment plant.
Yeah,
But that's a
can't.
large chunk of money, and even that's one of those, by the time you even get that half paid for, there's a real good chance there's going to be tighter regulations coming down on something else where you're going to end up sticking more into it.
The thing about it is too, the more we grow is the more restrictions we got on it. Look, when we went over 1,000 in the population, we had to go from a C to a B, which was more restriction. We had to do an addition then. So I mean, I would like to see this wastewater district go, be honest with you. But that's my opinion.
Yep, and I agree. And that's kind of where, Mazeppa has removed themselves from those discussions, where it still is just Goodhue, Wanamingo, Pine Island, and Zumbrota. Where I think I'm pretty sure that last meeting we had, all of those other communities were still definitely in and wanted to keep discussing. And I think within a few months, most of them would be able to decide whether or not they wanted to keep pursuing. And the one thing is, if Pine Island would remove themselves from the sanitary district talks, Zumbrota could actually handle both Wanamingo and Goodhue's flows without actually making any changes to their treatment facility. Where it still might Or then it might not be a sanitary district, it might just be, I can't even remember what the right, Reese might know the right terminology, but we basically just have an agreement that we pump to them and then they take care of it.
Okay. So the question's gonna flow out, is there still grant money for that?
Yes, and some of that needs to come down the road, and I'll kind of piggyback on Steve's comments. I mean, really, you're probably looking at a 4-year process by the time you really get up and moving. Because really your big things, if you do decide to pump to Zumbrota, it's really going to be, you have to negotiate easements and right-of-way access within MnDOT right-of-way, and that's never a short time frame. Also with those grant funding dollars, those grants do take, up to a year. So I would imagine that you have multiple funding mechanisms, and a district would allow for maybe a stronger case if they do see multiple communities getting together. There is funding either way, but I would agree that the district option probably has the most traction or best case for funding.
That's what I was thinking also. That's another reason I'd just soon go that direction. Anybody else got anything they want to add into this?
So no matter what, we're gonna have to pipe the sewage down to Zumbrota, unless we build our own plant, right?
Correct. And yeah, even
Which-
with discussing the, a softening system, logistically, it wouldn't work with either of the wells we currently have. So that's kind of where we're up against a wall, is we'd have to find a new location, drill a new well, and then put our softening plant there, which does not make a lot of sense where for a town of our size to have 3 wells. When we have a good quality water out of our primary well, and our backup well isn't as good, but it still is a better quality than even drilling another new well. Where you drill another one, I'm pretty sure we'd have more issues with rust or manganese, anything like that. And then you'd have to end up doing more treatment for that too.
Dave, you said that there was a variance for 15 years. Was that on the current?
No, if up to 15 years is what they would potentially grant us.
Okay.
It's more, I think, for us to, it would be determined by what we conduct a feasibility study, see what we can afford, and show them that this is all we can afford. And then basically they would kind of give us a timeline and say, okay, well, according to this, we'll give you 5 years. And by then that's enough time for you to find these funds to take care of that, I think.
Okay.
Is there any way around that whole chloride limit thing as far as the city saying we'll set limits for households or anything like that?
The only thing we could do is make everyone take their water softeners out of their houses. And I don't think that would go over very well.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
No.
No, and yeah, it's,
But everybody in Redwood, how come, why is that? It seems kind of weird that, I mean, everybody has a water softener. Is it because of the typical water we have that it doesn't absorb it enough or not, or what's the science behind that, Reese?
Yep, so anytime your water softener runs off salt, and then
Yeah.
salt ultimately is what chloride turns into. So that all gets put into the water stream. And so ultimately at your discharge point, that's where all that salt is more concentrated. In a typical wastewater treatment system, isn't going to remove salts. Those are very difficult to pull out.
I
And
see.
so what you need to do is do more like advanced treatment, which comes at a very high cost, in order to pull that salt back out of that waste stream.
So that's what bigger cities do. They do this already?
Some, it depends. Now it's kind of a statewide thing. The MPCA is really pushing for these chloride limits. Historically, many communities have not had those chloride limits, which is why, everyone had softeners, or they're doing, on the larger communities, they are doing the lime softening or that front end treatment from the wells, to where folks don't necessarily need to have those actual water softeners because they already have soft water provided to them.
Wow. And I do think some of these other towns, if they have combination sewers where they have both storm water that is flowing in with their regular household wastewater, that does help. I mean,
That
that
dilutes
can
it?
contribute can contribute salts, but it can also dilute it down, so your level, the amount of water that's coming into your plant, that those levels are lower.
I couldn't see that with salt and sanding the streets, so that went in there. You're gonna have just as much, if not more.
Yeah.
Yep, in some towns, but if they're larger towns, they've got, it's all on flows and then, they look at where you're discharging your waste to and what the levels in those streams, rivers, waters are, where our water ultimately ends up in Trout Brook. So, I can show you the paperwork. They have a full detail of where our water goes, what that stream is classified as, because what they've noticed is where we're discharging, I don't remember how many miles down the road it is, they're calling it, the creek dries up is what is basically their term for it, where there's not as much water flowing there. So that, I think that is also counts against us.
Okay.
But yeah, this was just information I wanted to get to you guys, so we do probably have another, be able to have a decision for by that next meeting for our request with the MPCA, what we're looking for. And I would, probably recommend we try to get a variance for as long as possible, and gives us some time to figure out what we're going to do.
Okay, Donna?
I'm not sure. I have not applied or done this, and maybe Reese or Steve know more about it than I do, but last year the USDA invested $65 million in rural community facilities in 14 states. They did 38 projects through the community facilities direct loan and grant programs. Now, what I read a couple of years ago, I think this is the program, part loan, part grants, but it's like a 5-year waiting list, because there's so many communities in the state that apply for it. But that may be something you want to look into. What, do you know anything about it, Steve?
Not a lot, but we all are aware that it is a longer waiting period for that. That was our advantage to the sanitary district, because they look at that's kind of its own separate pot of money, just because that's way more appealing, because you have one point of discharge for a number of towns instead of, if it's 5 towns, 1 discharge instead of 5 discharges. So they look more favorably on that.
Okay, makes sense.
And fortunately, and one thing to note is a big contributor of dollars could be a state bonding bill. Similar to, we actually had some success with the city of Denison a couple of years ago, to where they actually did get funded on a state bonding bill. So they were able to, provide some additional treatment. So that is one avenue that, could be a large contributor of dollars in a near future time frame. But that does require joining that sanitary district option to really have a strong chance at that.
I don't think there's much choice in it. Right now, because we can't afford having our own plant right now and bonding to even get it, If we could get into a grant situation, even if it's down the road, I think that's the route we should almost take, because I mean, like I say, if we grow, we're not gonna be able to handle that sewer plant much longer, so. Just to give everybody a thought,
Mm.
So thank you.
Oofda.
Reese, you're next.
Sure. And I can kind of just piggyback on some of that sanitary treatment. Should the council elect to proceed with that, there would be a resolution of support that would essentially give assurance to the other communities that you are on board to proceed with a feasibility study to move that forward. So, yep. Otherwise, I think Steve covered that very well. Viola Lane, as Kenny mentioned, he did have that roadway shown as a 370-foot roadway extension when we were initially planning on about 150-foot extension. So that is one piece of discussion I would like the council to review. It looks like he did have his stormwater management area more on the southeast side of his property, which was pushing his driveway further to the west. So, that does come at increased costs to the city should that become, the public project.
Reese, are you trying to put something up? Should I get this off
Nope.
here?
And actually, do you have Kenny's site plan still open?
Let me look.
That would just be the one thing I'd want to show, but
I don't. Let me have to go back into my emails and pull it up.
no, and that's just fine. And like I said, I know the original intent and the whole plan to date was to only extend it to that 150-foot extension. And that is what was agreed upon previously. So yeah, you can see, and actually, Laura, if you go to the second page, it shows the grading plan. Now, essentially what they're looking to do is to raise the building up as high as they can in order to minimize some of the earthwork, so that, the higher you go, obviously that hill goes up very, very steep, the more that balances. Now that does make the stormwater want to go further to the east, which in turn pushes the driveway further west. So that's one thing I did just want to discuss. And if there is any concern with extending it, that 370 foot versus the original 150 foot. Now, I would say there probably is still an opportunity to where you could, move some of the stormwater management area further west. Maybe it's on the south side of the building and swales it further west so that driveway then could get pushed further east. But I'm not sure if there's any thoughts or concerns or comments on that component of it specifically.
Well, the concern is cost. and that, as Carrie and I were trying to push the senior living people to buy that property from the city, which is about $200,000. And I was hoping, or we were hoping that $200,000, we could then use that to do what we got to do on the senior living project and then build the rest of the street here. And the longer it gets, it's the cost. And if you build a full city street like that, you're probably, with the sewer and everything, he's going to want a lot of money for that. It's probably 200,000 to 300,000, wouldn't it? Yeah, we had some numbers. Were they about 300 grand?
Yeah, that's probably not too far off by the time it's all said and done.
And I was hoping the city could get by for 100, but it isn't looking too good right now.
What's the chance of moving that driveway to the east side of the parking lot, alongside the water deal.
Well, and I'm not, obviously not their engineer, but if you look at the grading plan, or I guess, yeah, if you don't mind going back there, my initial thought was that, yes, you could slide that further east. There's going to be some location to where they can get the swale around. What I would anticipate if we would request of them, you could almost slide that retention area along the roadway, similar to what we had originally discussed, and put a culvert under their driveway so that they can convey it from one side to the other without having to, truly push everything into that corner, which is in turn driving that driveway to get pushed further west.
Well, I was gonna say, the only advantage we have on, we weren't gonna blacktop and street and curb that, right?
Correct,
number.
not that full distance. It was just going to be, that 150 feet.
We had numbers, didn't we, Reese?
Yes, and it wasn't for that 370 foot. I believe it was more, closer to that 500. I would have to dig that number.
Well, the first monies you had was 570 feet or 560 feet.
Yep.
And that we said no to,
Correct.
if that money was for that, all that, then I don't have that much of a problem with it, but if it's still that high for that little bit of the street, because you're looking at 300 now, like something like that, I can't really see it.
Yeah, you're probably in that 250 range would be my guess without, running the numbers exactly. By the time it's all said and done.
The unfortunate part, if we want this to go through, we're gonna have to do something there.
Now, one thing you could investigate is if you wanted to build the full city street, to that 150 foot mark, you certainly could. And Kenny could just have a temporary driveway for access to where he could just pave, call it 20 foot wide, for example, to make sure he could get into his lot. Now that would require some sort of reconstruction of that little area, but that is another option that you could look at.
You still got to bring the sewer and water down there.
Yes. And we were looking at those as alternates in the original plan, but again, yeah, it wasn't planned to be stubbed that far.
Well, even the original one, I got the number in front of me was 427, 258. And that was to go 800, that was 709 linear feet.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds right.
So if we cut that in half to even 350, it should be half of that. That's still $200,000.
Mhm.
If we cut it in half again to 150, I realize there's some, it'd be really nice if we got it, we just don't, the minimum possible to keep everybody happy.
Yep.
And the other thing is we want it, are we, yeah, that's the numbers that I'm looking at here, so.
Mhm. And like I said, I think that water could get just relocated to be pushed behind the back curb. And then Kenny can pull that into his lot. He could also just run a longer sanitary service, and we would not necessarily need to extend this full sanitary main all the way.
Yeah, it'd be the only other way of doing it without undermining it.
Right.
Is extend the sanitary out beyond the water line.
Yep. But yeah, if you got that water far enough off of the sanitary, then you could cut it in after the fact.
Are we gonna be above the bid limit though now too, or not?
If you do the full amount, then you will be above the bid limit. And that would be a formal public bid. Right now, you're still under the limit, which I believe is 180 still. So you can still just go out for quotes.
Well, it would make sense to have the same guys doing the dirt work do this little project for us, but we don't want to get piggybacked by saying, okay, the street's gonna be this much, but then I'm gonna get more out of the rest of it, you know, I mean,
Yep.
we want to be fair with Kenny and fair to ourselves that we don't want to have profit built in, extra profit built into the street because he gets to do the excavating too. It'd be nice if we could have that, do it at the same time and decide, here's what it's gonna be for each party. You know what I'm saying, Reese?
Yeah, and that would be almost something to where it goes back to more of an ag partners style.
Well, that,
where-
I think the egg partner style, just for everybody, I think that was pretty reasonable, what we ended up paying for that, really. Because that was 300 some feet, wasn't it?
We got a deal on that, Dick, to be honest with you.
It was 300 some feet. I'm sure it was over 300 feet. And that was about that was $200,000.
And so that could be privately constructed and then turned back to the city as a dedicated right of way.
Does everybody understand what I'm talking about there? That the way we did egg partners, we just had egg partners included in their project. And then we ended up buying the street, the improved street from them, rather than us having to get separate bids. I think we got a better deal that way. And I think we might want to consider doing that this way too. But it's whatever the council recommends, wants to do.
How does everybody feel about it?
Well, if you could get, if you feel you can get a better deal, why not go with it that way? If, you know, if everybody wants to do that, I don't know. We have to look for the best deal for all of us, I guess.
Yeah, that's what we actually did with the egg partner. Just told them, you build the street. That's what Dick and I were down there last week when we negotiated with them on it. And they are paid off already, come let you know, so. But I think we should almost do the same thing here, to be honest with you. That's my opinion. Everybody's got something they want to talk about.
And
I agree. If we can go with the way we did it with Ag Partners, it sounds like a better situation.
Terry, how do you feel?
I would agree as well. I think that anything that we can do to save money on the other end would be good for us. And if Kenny is willing to do that.
Yeah, we'll have to make sure. Jason, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I guess I agree as well. It only makes sense, you know, if it's gonna save us a bunch of money too.
I think it will save us money, but I just don't want to get whipsawed by one and the other. You know, we have to, I want it, Kenny's got a number for his project and we want one for ours. And even, you know, it'd be nice if Kenny just, you know, we just gotta have the separate numbers so we know we're really paying for what because we're paying for this. He's paying for the rest of it. So it's not like Egg Partners, they were paying for the whole thing. Then we negotiated, we had a deal and we kind of negotiated at the end. So, but I think that's going to be the best way to do this when you look at the numbers that have been proposed.
So would you go back to Kenny and sit down, you and Carrie, and negotiate that and talk about that specifically?
I think we should do that sooner rather than later if we decide to do that, because he's going to get a number. I think he's negotiating with the excavator right now because there's a lot of dirt to move out there. I mean, I don't know, maybe Reese, you can comment on that, but I don't know how many cubic yards of work there's going to be done. There's a lot of dirt to move out there. And this is really not that much. There's not, and matter of fact, I think he's going to want to put some of the dirt he moves out there over here. Isn't that right, Reese?
Yeah, and you'll kind of note that he's actually pulling the street quite a ways up from what we were originally thinking about. We wanted
Right.
to build the building up. Now, you can see even on this page, the cut volume that he has is close to 66,000 cubic yards, which that's a lot of material. I mean, there's just no way around it. So he's going to be using some of that on site which is why he's trying to build the road up. But he's still showing that he needs to put close to 23,000 cubic yards somewhere.
Okay, so I'm looking at your estimate on that, Reese.
Yep.
And this is why he's gonna pay, but this is what you tell us. You say common excavation is $12 12 a cubic yard, isn't that correct?
For small quantities for the roadway, yes.
Okay,
When you
so
get,
even if he paid 10 to move, I don't know what he's gonna pay.
yeah,
But I mean, he's talking about just dirt work. It may be $400,000 or $500,000, correct?
yes, yeah, I would say for large quantity like that, he's probably in the $5 a cubic yard range. But if you
Okay.
need to pull it off site, that's where that number goes up, because then the trucking costs become, much higher. And that
So
can get
if
up to 15
we
to
could get our dirt moved for the same price he's gonna get his dirt moved, we're gonna have to stay on, we gotta just know what we're doing. If that right there, along with a lot of the excavation, is gonna be cheaper if we have him do it, right?
And one thing you could ask him to do is to do the mass grading for the street.
What
if
does
you
that
still
term
want it.
mean?
So
is
the
that?
mass grading would be basically bringing the street to subgrade. So basically, he would get all the grade worked out for the roadway, but he would not put in, call it the aggregate base or the actual pavement. If you still wanted it to be a city roadway, we've done that multiple times.
Carrie, would you be willing to work with us and me and Reese to just kind of go over what we think we should do and how we want to do that?
Yeah,
I think that's what Terry was saying, that we should probably get out, kind of have a plan how we're gonna do this. Is that right, Terry?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, I think Dick, we'll go back to him and we'll work with him on it.
Okay,
And I guess too on that, I think that would make the most sense if we can work them together, because if we can get them to do the sewer, the sanitary and the water main before they really start building that area up, because the elevations are substantially lower where the street will be, where they're gonna have less cost digging in that sewer. They're not digging 17 feet deep. They're gonna dig what, 6 feet? I mean, there's not that much excavation. So for the contractor, it's gonna be way simpler for him too, which I think is gonna make it easier for us to make this whole project work together.
Well, I think we have to work together on it to get it done, yeah.
Yeah, where I just think that sewer and water can go in first when they're, I mean, that can go in, be one of the first things they do, and then they can build their road right on top of that. And not
Yeah.
have to dig it all back up again and when they're done with their dirt work.
Yeah, I see the point there. I mean, that's what I mean. We work together on it to see, buy it cheaper for everybody. He's got a place to put his dirt, and then if we get that other driveway in, which I have to talk with Dick about later on because it's not going so well. That then we could find other places to put his dirt so he doesn't have to haul it, So I think, well, Dick and I'll and Reese and Steve will work together on it and see what we can come up with. If that's okay with the rest of the council.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, that's what we'll do then.
Okay, then I just had a few other quick updates. So pavement management plan, Steve and I talked this morning. We're gonna have a meeting here either tomorrow or Friday morning to review that plan, and then that will be ready for review and presentation to the council. Forestry Reconstruction, we are still working on the facility assessment or the feasibility study, excuse me. The topo was completed. after the deep freeze we had there. So that is ready to go. The last piece I did have was that Viola water main loop. We did finally get a pay application from the contractor that I did include in the memo. So that basically pays them, call it everything but retainage, and then they do not have the curb that is completed at the end of 3rd Street. That has not been completed. So we are proposing to withhold dollars for that. We're proposing $735 for that, in addition to the retainage, which was $2,200. So that would bring them to an ultimate pay application of $41,994.75. So basically remaining on the contract would be that $2,945.25. That would then get released to the contractor once they complete the curb and everything is acceptable.
Yeah, it was about 25,000 cheaper than what we thought it was gonna run though.
Mhm. And so what I would need tonight is a motion to approve the pay application, approve and pay the pay application.
So can I ask for a motion to pay that 41,994.75?
So moved.
Do I have Wayne second,
I second.
Patrice second? All in favor? Jason,
Aye.
Terry,
I,
Wayne,
All right.
Patrice?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thanks, Reese.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we'll go on to Josh and his parking tickets. You're up, Josh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. That was worth the wait. All right. So the parking tickets right now, ordinance number 157, parking violations here in the city. So right now our parking tickets are at $25. Oh, there you go. Beautiful. So right now our parking tickets are at $25 for the first offense, $50 for the second, and it goes up $25 every time you have an offense. Traditionally, we've always given 14 days for them to pay that $25. And then after the 14 days, I usually send them a letter giving them another 7 days to pay before I send them a state citation, which states, so these ones right here, they don't go on your record. They pay the city. There you go. Once it goes to a state citation, they actually got to go to court. They got to take, they got to pay the filing fees and everything else. So they're going to be a lot more from there. From what I've noticed in the last 3 years now, is that there is a high number of people that just do not pay it. I don't know if it's because we give 14 days and that's too long. I know some people just think that, well, you know, 1 or 2 violations, they have no problem parking on the road and paying it. I was proposing that we either raise the parking tickets and cut the time down in half, so give them 7 days. I know the surrounding cities like Zumbrota right now, they're at $30, and after 10 days, it goes up $15. Kenyon is, I think, 40 or $50. Don't quote me on that. And then after 48 hours, it doubles. Lake City is at $150 a parking ticket, and Cannon Falls no longer plays this game. They just give state citations for every single parking ticket. So I don't know exactly what I'm proposing because we're going to have to go back to the drawing board with this and figure out the pay scale and everything from there. But raising the parking tickets and cutting the time, or just going state citation, I'm willing to take anybody's opinions.
This is just for the winter parking?
Well, this is like, yeah, parking violations in general, but yeah. So I don't have Jason, Terry, and Patrice. I don't have your guys' emails. Otherwise, I would have sent this to you ahead of time and send you a couple other things. So I'm going to talk to Lori about getting you guys put onto my little email group, and I'll start sending you guys more information.
Thank you. So
Well,
how long has the parking tickets been this amount?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I know the previous chief back in 2014, I was just told 14 days, $25. So it's far back to as 2014. Yeah, I never saw anything on here that stated you're given 14 days and a way to pay it or how. So I ended up making something, a spreadsheet, basically a citation, and I made a digital form so we can actually print them out that way and has directions on the right side. But yeah, so that's a little bit easier that we can just type it in, hit print, it prints out, and it also saves the city a lot of money because having these little duplicate cards made up is actually quite expensive. So, but I really don't know how long it's been. Carrie might be able to answer that, or Dick.
I think it's been that way since ever, to be honest with you.
Okay.
How many tickets on average do you issue in a year?
I don't have those numbers. It depends year to year.
You got your repeat offenders constantly on it though.
I do have quite a few repeat offenders, absolutely. So,
And that's the ones we're really after more than any of them.
well, there's that, and then there is a lot of people that, I mean, this year we're not even close to the numbers that we were last year. Last year with a higher snowfall, the amount of tickets and Volksfest parking, that one right there, that so it'll all fall under the same for the parking ordinance 157. It just depends on the subdivision. So I remember that year was just substantial. Like I said, so like right now, this last snowfall, I went out door to door, knocking on doors, reminding people to move their vehicles off the roads. I've done this 2-3 times this year already, going door to door, calling, messaging, doing what I can. So I didn't have any of this last because I made sure to go door to door. The one before that, it was just a smaller snowfall, 7. The one back on the 24th, out of the 7, 3 didn't pay. So I sent out letters today. So every time I send out a letter to remind these guys, I have to use an envelope. I have to use a stamp. I have to use ink from the printer. It takes my time. So inevitably, it is actually racking up. That's how I'm thinking of it, unless you guys want to think of it a different way. Like I said, I'm willing to take any suggestions or options here, but I was thinking about doubling it or cutting the price or cutting the time down in half.
I got a question for you, Josh, before you.
Yes, sir.
How much are the state citations?
State citations. I'm not 110% sure. I can do a little bit more looking into that. State citation. So if we impose the 25 or the 50, of course, that'll go towards it, but then it's also going to come with a court fee. So a filing fee, which is like $48 that gets attached to that. So ultimately you're looking at about $100 every time you do a state citation. So
a seatbelt violation of seatbelt is 125.
125 for a seatbelt.
How do you know that, Dick?
Yeah, when Josh writes that ticket, there's a payable thing on there, right, Josh?
Yes.
And it says right on there, payable $125.
Okay, there you go. So ultimately there's that. Like I said, so parking violations like these, they don't go on your actual record. You're paying for them and the money goes to the city. goes to Lori, goes right back to your guys' general account for the city. As a state citation, it goes on your record. Now, like I said, I've been giving these individuals 14 days, and then I send out a letter giving them another 7 days. And ultimately, with rotating schedules, the way we've been doing everything, they're given well over a month. They're not paying for anything when we send out the letters, and yeah.
I like the way Kenyon does it.
The 48 hours it doubles?
Yep.
Okay. I could put that on the side of the printable citations, the ones that we made up. So it gives direct, yeah, options. But whatever we do, it's going to ultimately affect the ordinance number 157, and it'll need to be refigured, the one that's in front of you guys right now. Like I said, once I get your guys' emails for you three, I will send you guys a copy of this.
Okay,
So
that's good.
Could we just bring this back next time and have you update what you would like it to say? And then the council could pass it?
it depends on what they want done. I'm either willing to put it from 25 to 50 and cut it down to 7 days, so $50 in 7 days, or doubling it in 48 hours. I don't know. And then still, how long do you give them after the 48 hours goes past?
Well, I think what she's asking, and what I'd ask too, is for everybody just to sit down and think about this one, because you're asking for a lot just to be thrown at us.
Absolutely, and I understand that. Yes.
So I think we should, everybody, and then we'll bring it up in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And Josh, I would like to hear your suggestion. Apparently, if people don't want to pay, somehow you got to motivate them, you know, and your suggestions on what would motivate them would be worth a lot to me, I think. So yeah, if you would have some suggestions that you throw in there and you say this will motivate these people to pay their tickets and stop parking where they're not supposed to park, and just to get the job done, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know what's going to motivate them. I don't know what's going to make these people, you know, step up and do what they're supposed to do. So hopefully maybe you got some ideas on that and what works and what doesn't work.
Well, I'm not the only person wondering right now. I know Zambrota's going through the same exact thing. I know their admin is suggesting doing the same thing that Lake City's doing, $150 a ticket. That's a lot. And then of course it takes my time, Lori's time, them submitting them to her going through everything, and then making sure that I have updates. Because I mean, I have to constantly keep asking her for an update printout of what do we have, so I know that they actually did pay or they didn't pay, and they do fall through the cracks. Which is, like I said, $150. That's a lot of money. Or do we just go through and just do the state citation? It goes on the record. They get to go just deal with it in court. There you go. It's off our shoulders, and yeah.
I just want everybody to take this home for 2 weeks and then come back with it.
Yep. Okay.
With a recommendation, if we can.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time.
Yep, thank you. Mayor's concerns, the only thing I've been worried about, I asked Steve yesterday about the house being tore down. That's supposed to be soon, right, Steve?
Yep, actually, they're gonna start tomorrow. I talked with him, and then he was gonna wait till Monday, but something changed in his schedule, so he's gonna start tearing the house down tomorrow. He's not sure how much of the old garage foundation he'll be able to rip out just with the frost and that stuff, but he's gonna do as much as he can now, and then he's kind of hoping he can just might have to wait a week and then get at the rest of it, but he is gonna start tomorrow.
How about the trees?
Yep, he's doing those too.
That's what I was hoping, okay. And then I talked to the county yesterday and today, because we were looking up and across from where the cemetery and Holmes is up there to put a driveway or street in there. And Dick, you must have put in a deal for a driveway, because he was gonna offer that to us, but I says a street, and he about blew his cork, so I have to do a little more finagling there, because he isn't happy with the street at all, you know. So I have to
How
Still
come-
working
I
with
guess,
them.
Kerry, the last time you and I talked Sunday, Saturday, he was okay with it, but now he's not?
Everybody is but Greg.
Oh. Okay.
So I'm gonna be trying to work with him on that. I'm still going through Todd yet. And that's about it for right now. I mean, been a lot of little short meetings here and there for everybody. Trying to get for this assisted living and Kenny Ryan stuff done, but it's all coming together there, so. That's all I have. Any council concerns?
I did attend the Zumbrota Area Association, Ambulance Association meeting. I don't have anything formally to report other than things are going pretty well. They're gonna send a list of things they bought with the CARES money. I thought that'd be interesting for us all to see. We held our meeting out in the garage, and one thing I've noticed about the Ambulance Association, it is well run, it is well kept, well organized. It is a good organization. They're doing really well with the number of people they have to help. They have a dedicated staff, and things are just looking really good there. They're down on runs this year, so far, but like I said, just quickly, it's a well-run organization. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything?
Kerry, I'd like to correct the record. A seatbelt violation, the basic charge is $25. There's a surcharge that the courts charge, another $75. Plus there's a law library fee, which typically is about $12 to $15. So it might be between $110 and $125. I want to just clarify that.
Thank you. So can I get a motion to pay the bills?
Don't move.
Patrice, do I got a
Yes.
second?
second,
Wayne seconded, all in favor, Jason,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
okay, Wayne,
aye,
Patrice,
Aye.
motion's carried. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Wayne made the motion,
I'll second it.
Terry seconded, all in favor, Jason,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Wayne,
Aye.
Patrice,
Aye.
motion's carried. I'd like to thank everybody for being in there. I know it was a long meeting again tonight. Hopefully it won't be this long, much longer. But we had a lot of things we had to get done, and we got a lot of things that's going on at the city, so. I want to just thank everybody for their time, so thank you. And we're adjourned.
Okay.
Carrie, don't you need to go into E EDA?
Yeah.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Where you go?
He's
You go
gone.
home.
Yeah,
Yes.
You forgot EDA. We switched it.
Closed meeting. Don't worry about that.
He's coming back. He forgot.
Oh.
Can't believe you guys want to leave already.
Oh, man.
well, it's been a long
We
meeting.
lost the reporter.
Sorry, Donna.
Okay, no worries. I'd say you could move this to 2 weeks, but I have a Goodhue EDA every second Wednesday. So it wouldn't work. We'd have to wait a month.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the January 27th meeting?
So moved.
Wayne, do I get a second?
Aye.
Patrice has seconded, all in favor? Jason,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Wayne,
Aye.
Patrice?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Let's go right to CEDA.
Okay, so 2 weeks ago, I missed that city council meeting when the task force committee, I guess if that's what we're calling them for the depot, gave you all the results for the depot community survey. And to my understanding, you'd like me to go ahead and write a grant applicant to have the preservation specialists with experience in preserving and rehabilitating, evaluating historic properties, so we can get a grant and get that cost for those specialists to come and analyze and assess the building. Therefore, we have a need to address any underlying problems that concern possibilities such as foundation, roof, windows, that type of thing. And that's what the assessment report would be based on. I spent some time reading the Minnesota Historical Legacy Grant. Their website is like huge. You wander all over the place trying to find what you need. It's actually kind of a headache, but I finally kind of got quite a bit of information that I need, and I jotted down some questions that I need to call them and answer some of those questions. But what that application is it's due April by a minute before midnight on Friday, April 9th, which gives me the 2 days in the Goodhue contract to write that in March. It's $10,000 or less to do the small grant. And then we would receive notification if we are awarded approximately 8 weeks after the deadline, which after April 9th. So let's say it's going to be June 8th, 9th, somewhere in there. If funded, they can start doing that assessment June 30th of 2021. And then there's like within 12 months to complete that assessment. They're probably really busy, I would guess. One of the things, everything costs money. So I hate to throw this at you too, but they do have like a matching fund that are always encouraged. It's not required, but it is encouraged. And it is listed as an additional criterion for evaluations on grant applications. So what that does is it's an indicator that the community has a buy-in and has a commitment to the project. At this point, I do not know what those assessments cost. I've heard anywhere from $4,000 to $12,000. I don't think this assessment would be that costly because it's a one-story building and it's just one building sitting there. It's not a whole large assessment that would need to be done. Let's see. Also, if there's some type of a match to it from the community, it can also help with a tiebreaker, in particularly when in the competitive grant rounds. Now, if we can also, another note I had here that I thought might interest you is if we're not funded for the small grant, we'll receive a feedback on our application so we can strengthen it and reapply in another cycle. The next cycle would be July 9th. They do it quarterly. So I think it was January, April, July, and I think it might be September. Other than that, I guess I'd be asking, is there any type of a contribution that the city would like to make towards it, or the Lions Club, or any other way that we could fundraise some money to be a part of that? Because I would kind of need to know in order to put that in the grant application. But I think first of all, I need to find out to see what type of dollars are we looking at. Are we looking at like $1,000 or are we looking at $3,000? That's going to make a difference. And I'll give the Minnesota Historical Society a call and ask for them for, if they could get us a closer number. And what I can do is get that information to Lori or the ladies on the committee, and they can discuss that with you at the second Wednesday in March, if that works for you.
I mean, they could, the committee could actually go to the Lions. I mean, I can't, but the committee could. And look for, you know, because maybe the Lions would give some money towards it. But I don't know. I'd have to know, they would have to know, I mean, how much.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So we'll work that out within the next couple weeks. That work for you folks?
Okay.
does that work for you, Artis?
She unmute her. I can't tell.
I can't either. Anyway, we can, Lori, you can get a hold of them and just tell them that, if you would. So,
The other thing, any questions or concerns or anything on that project at this time? No? Okay,
I got a question.
all right.
Before, I mean, yeah, it's probably too early for this, but I know with some of these other historical grants, you have to, there's a large set of rules that have to be followed for that grant money, where I know there's one in, I believe it was Adams, where if they would have done their project, they would have to use the tools and materials from that day when that was built back in, whether it's early 1800s, early 1900s.
Okay.
So that was square-headed nails, sawing by hand. It's not using modern tools to make these rehabs, where that drives that price of making it, keeping that historical monument around. Where I know down there, they decided we can't afford those kind of dollars. It went from an easy project to a very complicated project. So I'm just wondering if that is something that we're going to run into with this down the road.
Wow.
Okay, that is if you want your historic building to be on the National Historic Registry. Then there's all those guidelines that need to be followed. When Artis and Lori and I were up at St. Paul, the people I've talked to and the people I've talked to on the phone afterwards were stating that because so many historic buildings are now being demolished for bigger and better, we're losing our history in our state. So the Minnesota Historical Society has changed that. And that was something I did not see reading today, fumbling around through, not fumbling around, but just anxiously trying to find out, can we still do this if we don't get on the National Historic Registry? So by the time I run out of time today. So I will call and see if that's still true. With the pandemic, so many of these foundations have changed their criteria, and they're leaning more towards pandemics and COVID-19, the viruses and whatnot, helping people with food and that type of thing. So I just want to make sure before I spend time writing this, or we get a donation from the Lions or someone, that we can still move ahead with this. Does that
Donna,
make sense?
I'm pretty sure, Donna, that I know somebody and that would donate at least $1,500 towards that cause. So you put that down, that somebody will give that, I don't know if that's enough or not, but put that down.
Okay.
And that person's gonna be anonymous, I know, but he donates some money. They will donate some money.
Okay, that would be great. Okay, I'll keep you folks up to date on that project then, because we're kind of narrowing in on that. It's only, what, 4 or 5 weeks away. Any other questions on that, or has anyone else heard anything about Steve's question? No? Okay, then last month at the EDA meeting, Kelly Amundson talked about the dog waste stations. And to my understanding, Carrie was going to talk to the Lions Club, and Kelly Amundson, the owner of Pet Butler, which they are also the owners of Spring Green outside of Zumbrota. And yesterday I talked in length with Kelly and her husband Marty, and what they would really like to do is donate the 2 dog waste stations to the city of Goodhue. And in the meantime, Kelly had also talked to Rick Buck, and I've talking with Lori, talked to Lori, and I'm not sure where the Lions Club is at with this, but to my understanding is the Lions Club going to make some type of donation, and now you're thinking 5 waste stations?
That's
Excellent.
what Lions, something, yeah. The Lions Club said they would go up to 5 waste stations. 1 for each park, and then 2 of them are 1 on each end of the trail.
Okay, so are they thinking they're going to like pay that 2-year agreement? Or are they thinking they're the dog waste stations, or what kind of dollars, do you know, Carrie, were they thinking?
Well, they were buying the stations because it was like $1,200 or $1,300 that they were paying for it. I think that's what it was. Or
Yeah, they're the
I thought they were like
waste,
200 and some a piece, weren't they?
yeah, they're $250 each.
But then if
So-
we bought over 4, it went down. So they said they'd buy 5. You know, so we'd have to go with whatever the fee to do it is, but they said they would go that far with it, so.
Okay, so if Pet Butler, they're $250 each. So, and if you want 5 stations in the city, if Pet Butler donates the 2, then we'd need $750 for the other 3. Are you thinking they would donate up to $1,200 or $1,300, and we could put that towards the service fee for
Well,
the first year?
That's, I know it's what they were doing. I know that. So because they're wondering how much more it was gonna cost them. I told them I didn't know. But
Yes.
they did pass that to buy 5 of them.
Okay,
So with all this, the city is still going to be on the hook for paying whether it's weekly, monthly, all that fee for these stations. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what I understand.
yeah, what should they came up with, and they didn't get time because, you know, they have small children and young children, and they also have their other business to do, and they're also out picking up dog poo today. So what they did come up with, and we've scribbled and been working back and forth yesterday and last night and today, and so what you would be at if the city of Goodhue had 5 stations in the community, your total cost per year, if they service them once a week, it'd be $3,640 plus $750 for those 3 stations. But they would donate 2 of those stations if the city pays, and this is for every city, if they pay, well, up to the first 10 waste stations that people reserve from them. If the city does the 2-year agreement and locks in that fee, then those 5 stations will be yours, including the 2 that they would donate. Otherwise, if you choose to not fulfill the contract, say come September, October, next January, with it before that 2-year period, then the city would need to pay $500 for those waste stations.
Yeah, well, we've already bought it.
Right, you would be purchasing the 3.
We'd be purchasing 5.
Well, they're gonna donate 2 of those to you.
So if we don't do the agreement for 2 years, they're gonna take the 2 back?
No, they would bill you for the 2.
That's what I mean.
Just
The
to
Lions,
incentivize you to do a 2-year agreement.
but I mean, the Lions are already willing to pay for 5.
Right, so if you don't want their 2-year donation, then yeah, you could buy the 5 and then you could work on they haven't really, this is all kind of, they're just starting to work with some Broda and Goodhue to get started here.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I'm just a little bit confused here because in listening to Steve, when he kind of talked about the dog waste in town, he didn't think it was that big of a problem. And it seems like now all of a sudden we're kind of moving forward. There was obviously never any motion about this. So I'm a little confused.
Well,
All of a sudden, we're looking at 5 stations and $3,000 a year to pick up dog poop when we just were informed that we're $1.3 million in the deficit. Sometimes maybe we need to
Right.
hold back a little bit and not be spending money that's, I mean, obviously Steve didn't think this was a big issue. I don't know. That's my opinion.
well, we could do some studying on it and see what it is, because I had a guy come up to me at Lions and says that he was sick and tired of going to Cranston Park because it was nothing but dog poop up there, so. And that came out of the blue before this was even brought up, so. I mean, I don't know. I said, I'd like to really know, be honest with you, how bad is it, Steve? You might just not see it with the mower, but
I mean, I guess, yeah, Cranston Heights probably would be the worst park, which I don't know. I mean, it's still, I have a hard time being able to, I mean, justify and say, yeah, we should absolutely do this, where, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, what all Pat Butler is going to do is clean out their little garbage cans that are on
Yeah, if
these stations. They're not going to walk every park and pick up every piece of dog poop they find. I mean, that wasn't part of it. So
Right.
putting these out there, I don't think is going to.
oh, nothing.
You could put 5 of them up at Cranston Heights, and I'm guessing if it's that bad up there, you could put them all there, and it's not going to make a bit of difference. They don't pick the dog poop up now. They're not going to pick it up, even if you have 2,000 bags and a little garbage can sitting there.
So,
That's-
yeah, the service
that's
is,
what I think, but it's your decision too, guys.
the service is the replacement of the dispenser bags, the little bags that each dog owner carries. And then they take the waste, they remove the waste, and then they replace the receptacle and put new liners in, is what that, and that'd be once a week for 5 stations.
Yep, and
Maybe you want to do less stations, I don't know.
well, I guess my dog does not. If I would be at one of those stations and grab a bag, my dog is not going to poop right there. To pick it up with that bag and put it in that garbage can. So, I mean, strategically, how does one? I'm still going to end up picking up dog poop. I'm going to have dog poop in my garbage cans, in the pool bathrooms, in my other park garbage cans, where if we feel we should provide bags, I probably for $150, I can buy a post and a garbage bag dispenser and a few thousand garbage bags, if that's really the direction, if we think that will help. But I mean, the Lions do want to donate some money and do that, and that is great for the community. But if it's going to still cost us money above and beyond that, I don't think it's necessary. But
Or does the city want to just purchase the dog waste stations, and the city maintains all of them? You don't purchase their service from them. That's a possibility too. I don't know myself if it's a health hazard when dog poo doesn't get picked up, or if it's put in regular park waste receptacles. I'd be grossed out. I would not go to that park if I went to throw in my garbage and I just smelled dog shit. To be blunt.
what I'm thinking about too, Donna, maybe is the Lions. See, Rick talked to her because when it brought the Lions, I just happened to be there, and that's what they decided they would do that much. But I'm thinking here, listening here tonight, that maybe if the Lions bought them, that we'd do them ourselves, and it'd save an awful lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we could put the bags in there or whatever, or do whatever. I don't know, because I'm thinking they're picking them up on the trail more than anything, and then dumping them in that bag. You know, so they got someplace to put them instead of in the bathrooms, and you know, that's what I'm looking at. But
Yeah, I think if they knew where they belong. People I know, family, friends that have dogs. My sister's example in St. Charles, she lives out by the golf course, and St. Charles has the waste station, but they don't have a receptacle to throw it in. So she walks way out around the golf station, then has to carry it all the way back home. where if that receptacle was somewhere, you wouldn't have to carry it your whole route. You could drop it off. And would you be more willing to pick it up if you knew you were going to drop it somewhere? Lori, go ahead.
As a dog owner,
Oh, good one.
and somebody that goes to the cities all the time with my daughter, and we have the little, we go to the dog park that have the little receptacles. My dog never poops by the receptacle. It's always 15 minutes into the walk. So Steve's right. I mean, we don't need to have the little poop holder right by the bags.
Steve, has it been an issue for you to pick up or with the dog waste in the garbage cans?
No, everyone, I feel Goodhue does a very good job of everyone cleans up after their dog. I mean, it's a very strong percentage where, yep, they find the closest garbage can that they find, that's the one they throw it in. But I mean, we, you know, when we're in those summer months, spring and summer, we're checking those park garbage cans and all those bathrooms. We're checking them every day anyways, where you have those days you walk in there, you can smell it. So we clean those out. I mean, it's just, and I mean, there's days where they stink even if there isn't dog poop in there. It's just, I mean, that's just kind of, that's our morning chores when we're doing stuff. That's the first thing we do is we check garbage cans, check pools, check bathrooms before we do our other stuff.
The other part of that is I mow the telephone office lawn or I have my grandson do it, and I'm forever picking up dog crap because they walk down there. Oh, here's some grass. They go in there and dump it, and then I have to pick it up.
Well, no dog receptacle is going to change that.
No, but I mean, it's just that I've talked to the people too, and well, where else is he supposed to go? Well, pick it up, I told him. I says, everybody else does. You know, then it embarrasses them. Then they don't come down for a couple of days, but then when they see nobody's around, they're right back at it again. You know,
I think if somebody wants to buy those receptacles and the posts and all that for us, that's fine. But I would agree. I don't want to see us spending $3,000 some to have a service come just to pick it up out of those posts. So I wouldn't be for that.
okay, if you're against it, we'll just cancel it right now. I don't care.
It doesn't matter to me. It's the city choice. I'm not sure what the city would want. The pet owners, I guess it's up to them what they would use. And you know what? If word gets out there and pet owners would like it, they can come back, or you can do the contract next year or this fall or whatever it may be. It's not like it has to be done right now either. So
yeah, I'll go back and tell Alliance don't purchase them. I mean,
okay, so you don't want the waste stations either then? Without the service, you just, none of it?
well, I don't, I'm just the tiebreaker vote here. There's 4 other people that it's their decision.
Like I said, if they want to buy them, if somebody's going to donate the posts and the bags and that kind of stuff, fine. But I don't want to pay for the service just for them to come pick it up. And that I don't, you know, I kind of agree with let's not spend that.
I wonder what the Lions Club, I'm not sure how many members show up at your meeting, but were they like excited about it? Did they think it was a good idea, or they just wanted to help out the city and the community? Maybe you buy 2 and try it, and maybe you find out that maybe you do want their service down the road or in a year or whatever it may be. But at least that's one way of finding out if they're going to be used. But then you'd have the responsibility of purchasing the bags and the liners. And I think you can get these actually with just the bags and the pole and not the wastebasket part of it.
Well, the Lions were looking for a service project, and that's why they agreed to do it. I mean, I don't have an issue one way or the other. If they want, you guys want to buy or have the Lions buy the deal, I know that we're going to have to buy the bags.
So Carrie, then if they donated the stations, Steve, is that correct that then the city would they would clean up the stations?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine. We can, I mean, yeah, if they want to, we can, yeah, just kind of try it out. If we just want to start with bags, go with the bags. just provide them, or if we want to put the garbage cans on them. But yeah, I've looked into too, and we can purchase the full exact same setup to that Marty and Kelly would provide anyways, from some of my dealers that I deal with. So
should I have them stay at it then, or?
I think if the council's for it and the Lions want to do that, then I guess I would suggest we just start with the posts and then the dispensers for the bags, and just see if that makes any difference with the dog waste. And I mean, then we just kind of move. If we feel we need to add the garbage cans to them, we can do that, or add more stations. But I mean, if the Lions would do some, I mean, yeah, we can spread them out in Rosie's Park, and I mean, even put one right inside Cranston Heights and see if it makes a difference. If there's one right there, it gets used, well, we're taking a step in the right direction, I guess.
Or another thought is maybe you do, if the Lion wants to do 5, what if you do 3 without the receptacle and 2 with, and we'll see if people actually carry them there and throw them in that receptacle.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just another thought to throw out at you.
I
I would think without the receptacle, they got to be less than $250 also.
don't know. Rick had prices there, and then, because I stayed out of the vote and everything, because I didn't want to have a conflict of interest on it, so.
Yeah, at that time when Kelly was with the Lions Club, I would believe that she had the same prices that she gave to us last month at the EDA meeting, because she just gave me an updated total cost. She just found out about the 5 stations actually yesterday afternoon, so she wouldn't have had that price for the Lions to see the service cost. So they were just kind of working off, like you're saying, probably just the station.
And I'm not 100% sure, but I think I could do them for just a little under $200 the way it looked. Don't quote me exactly on that, but I'm pretty sure it was just a shade under 200. I could buy the full setup with a garbage can and everything.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's what the Lions were doing on the 5, and you bought up, it was like from 0 to 4 or 3 or something like that, then up to like 5 or 6, and then if you bought over 10, it was way down.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why they went with 5, because they would get a better price on it, and they thought, well, if we're doing this, we might as well do another one, So we'll just let her go and see what happens. Steve can do it, and we don't want the service right now anyway, so.
Correct.
And what else would you like to tell? What are you just going to go ahead and do it on your own, even the stations, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So no business with Pet Butler.
At this time, no.
At this time. Okay, I got that. Okay, then I have one other thing is Fab Tech. I haven't really talked to him that much, probably even this year, being he was kind of getting other things going. So I don't know how much assistance he wants from me as far as any kind of programs, SBA, low interest loans, anything like that. We also have the Depot grant, the Veteran Memorial with the Fireman's Memorial. Just wondering what it is you'd like me to work on for those 2 days in March.
Anybody got any ideas?
I don't know.
Well, you're gonna work on the Depot grant with artists and them, aren't you?
Right, we're gonna have to do that in order to, that's probably gonna have to be number 1 in order to meet the deadline.
I would say so. I mean, on that one, yeah.
Okay, and we'll just see how the other falls then.
Yeah, I mean, if we'll talk to Kenny, if he wants to get a hold of you, you can.
Okay.
Okey doke.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
We have the next thing on the agenda.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is a fast aid program. Lori, you got stuff on that? We need money in there?
Yep, it's used up. Did you want to just sit tight now and
Are we caught up?
leave it alone?
Are we caught up?
We're at 0, so
And there's nobody that's asking for any.
I don't have any applications.
Okay, unless we have an application, we don't need to do anything on it, so. That's what I would say. If they're getting an application, we're gonna have to put money in it.
Well, you don't have to. I mean, you don't have to continue the program or you can.
It's been a good program. It keeps the businesses and so everything looks nice in town again, so. Instead of
Right.
businesses falling, bricks falling off and killing somebody just about. We just about had that this last year, so.
I agree that the businesses are looking nice downtown, a lot of them. You can tell things have been cleaned up and improved, so I like the program. And I think we just wait until maybe there's another application, and if we need to, we'll put money into it. So.
That's what I'm thinking too, Wayne. How does everybody else feel about it?
Of all of the businesses where they originally sent letters about this program?
There was at one time it was out there because we had businesses right away that applied for it.
Okay.
Like Lee's Taxidermy did and Pete Ponslin did and Charlie Ponslin did.
The fitness center.
Yeah, I mean, there's been people that have done it, so.
Okay.
I think Corner Bar too, maybe, wasn't it? Or there's been different ones that have, I know, so.
Corner Bar did, but did she ever do it, Lori? And then she reapplied, and I don't know if she did it the first time, but not the second time. I don't remember. It's one per building per
They've got-
year.
They've come back twice.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, then, other businesses, do we have any other business that do just that have lots that we've already talked about?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. I do anticipate this is the time of year when there's people, start thinking about buying and building. So I anticipate there is going to be some action here in the next 30, 60 days.
Okay, then if we're all done and nobody has anything, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Terry made a motion.
Second,
Wayne made a second. All in favor, Jason?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
Wayne?
aye.
Patrice?
She's mute.
I had to throw that at you.
Oh, thank you.
We're officially adjourned. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night,
Can we
everyone.
leave this time now, Carrie?
Yeah.
I was wondering if I can.
Am I the only one left? Is I the
No.
only one left?
I did
You
too.
leave with you, Carrie.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. All right, see you later, guys. All right, come back.
Yep.
Have a good night.
Okay.